Morning, afternoon, evening, everyone. Let me begin with something real. People will hurt you, intentionally or not. Pain will come knocking. And when it does, you have two choices: to let it define you or to let it refine you. Now, I'm not going to stand here and preach forgiveness like it's a magic pill. No, healing isn't linear and it's definitely not instant. But what I do believe in is power. The power of how you choose to respond, not react. Respond. Because your reaction is their control, your response is your comeback. So today I want to share 5 powerful ways to handle people who hurt you, not for them, but for you. We live in a world that glorifies resilience, but discourages emotion. Be strong, they say, move on. But strength isn't the absence of pain, it's the courage to sit with it. When someone hurts you, whether through betrayal, neglect, cruelty, the first instinct might be to numb it, distract yourself, or pretend it didn't happen. But ignoring pain doesn't heal it, it buries it. Buried pain has a way of showing up later, uninvited, wearing different disguises like anger, insecurity, or distrust. That's why step 1 in healing is not hiding from the hurt. It's feeling it. Emotional wounds deserve the same care and attention as physical ones. If you broke your leg, would you? So why do we expect ourselves to just get over emotional betrayal or abandonment? Your feelings, the heartbreak, the confusion, the rage are not weaknesses. They are your body and soul telling you something isn't okay. Give yourself permission to feel every inch of that discomfort. Sit with your sadness, acknowledge your anger, don't rush it, don't minimize it. You are allowed to hurt even if others think you're too emotional or too sensitive. This is your experience. Own it. Sometimes we're afraid to feel pain because we think it will swallow us whole. But emotions, when honored, are like waves. They rise, they peak, and eventually they settle. Drags us under isn't the feeling itself, but the resistance to it. So cry if you need to. Scream into a pillow if you have to. Journal the ugliest thoughts you wouldn't dare say out loud. There is so much power in allowing yourself to fall apart, because only then can you put yourself back together, piece by piece, on your terms. And here's something no one tells you: you don't have to be okay on anyone else's timeline. Maybe you're still hurting months later, maybe years. Healing isn't a straight line and it doesn't follow a schedule. The world might move on. They always do. But you're allowed to take your time. And in that time, you'll begin to notice the pain softens, not because it wasn't real, but because you grew stronger in the process of feeling it, not avoiding it. So feel the ache, feel the weight, and know this: feeling deeply doesn't make you fragile, it makes you human. And that's not something to hide, it's something to honor. Let's get something straight. Boundaries are not barriers. They're not walls built out of bitterness or revenge. They are lines of self-respect, drawn not to keep the world out, but to keep your peace in. Setting boundaries after someone has hurt you is not a dramatic act. It's a necessary one. Yet for so many of us, especially women, we've been conditioned to believe that protecting ourselves makes us cold, selfish, or too much. Let's destroy that narrative. Boundaries aren't cruelty, they're clarity. When someone crosses a line, betrays your trust, manipulates your kindness, continuously drains your energy, the most powerful thing you can do is reclaim your space. That means saying no without guilt. It means not picking up the phone for someone who only calls when they need something. It means not explaining, defending, or shrinking to make others comfortable. You don't owe access to anyone who couldn't handle your heart with care. Distance is not punishment, it's protection. And no one deserves unlimited access to you just because they once had it. People who benefit from your lack of boundaries will always accuse you of being difficult. When you finally set them, let them. The moment you start choosing yourself, some people will be uncomfortable, especially those who are comfortable with your silence, your availability, your people-pleasing. But remember, being liked is not the same as being respected, and setting a boundary, even if your voice shakes, is a declaration that you matter. Your time, your energy, your mental health, all of it matters. One of the most transformative moments in healing is when you realize you don't have to keep the same circle out of history or guilt. Just because someone shared a chapter of your life doesn't mean they deserve the rest of the book. You are allowed to outgrow people. You are allowed to love them from a distance. And you are absolutely allowed to protect your peace, even if that means walking away in silence instead of staying in chaos for the sake of appearances. Setting boundaries is not about being perfect. It's about being intentional. It's waking up and asking, what does my soul need today? And making decisions that reflect the answer. It's choosing conversations that nourish you, environments that uplift you, and relationships that honor your emotional safety. You don't need to explain your boundaries to anyone who didn't respect the ones you never set in the first place. Let's be real, when someone wrongs you, the most natural response is to want to hit back, not always literally, but emotionally, mentally, even subtly. It's that desire to make them feel the sting they left on you. You want to show them that you're not weak. You want them to regret it. But here's the hard truth. Retaliation keeps you tied to the very thing you're trying to break free from, and they're not worth that energy. You are not here to fight small battles. You are here to rise above them. There is a difference between reaction and power. Reacting is easy. Anyone can clap back, post a cryptic status, throw a jab masked as a joke. Rising, that takes discipline, that takes strength. It takes the kind of self-respect that says, you don't get to reduce me to your level. When you choose not to retaliate, it's not weakness, it's strategy, it's emotional intelligence. And in a world full of noise and chaos, sometimes the loudest statement is silence followed by success. You have to understand that people who hurt you want a reaction. It validates their power over you. They feed off your chaos. So when you disengage, when you stop responding, when you walk away with your head high and your dignity intact, you starve them. And more importantly, you protect your own spirit, because revenge might feel good for a moment, but inner peace lasts a lifetime. Don't spend your days plotting ways to be seen by someone who never really saw you in the first place. The best revenge, if you want to call it that, is to be untouchable. Emotionally, mentally, spiritually, let your glow up speak. Let your happiness scream. Let your achievements be so loud that they can't even remember what they did to you. Because you're already 10 steps ahead, building something bigger, something brighter. Don't have time to keep looking over your shoulder when your destiny is straight ahead. And trust me, karma has better timing than any plan you could come up with. Choosing to rise instead of retaliate is choosing to protect your energy, and that's a form of self-love. You've already been hurt once. Don't allow that person to hurt you twice by dragging you into bitterness. Let them go. Let the universe handle the consequences. You've got more important things to build. Your future, your peace, your empire. Pain changes you. That's inevitable. But how it changes you, that's your decision. When someone wounds you deeply, emotionally or mentally, it's easy to slip into victimhood, to carry the hurt like a label. But there comes a moment when you realize this pain doesn't have to define you. It can refine you. It can fuel your next chapter. It can turn into the very reason you rise. Some of the most powerful, influential people in the world didn't get there despite their pain. They got there because of it. Think about it. What if the thing that broke you became the foundation of something unbreakable? What if that betrayal made you more intuitive, more grounded, more connected to who you truly are? Truth is, when you've been shattered, you see the world differently. You become sharper, more compassionate, more discerning. That depth, that edge, is a gift. It gives you the kind of wisdom no degree or title can give you. So don't waste your wounds. Use them, channel them. Let them inform your art, your voice, your mission, whatever path you walk. Turning pain into purpose doesn't mean you have to speak about it publicly or become some overnight motivational speaker. It simply means doing something with it. Maybe it's creating music that speaks to those emotions. Maybe it's launching a business, writing a blog, helping someone else going through something similar. Purpose is personal. It's not always loud, but it's always meaningful. Your pain starts to feel like a stepping stone instead of a dead end. That's when you know you're reclaiming your power. And sometimes turning pain into purpose is about becoming the person you needed when you were hurting. If you didn't have support, be that support for someone else. If your voice was silenced, speak louder now. If you felt invisible, create something that makes others feel seen. That's how we break cycles. not by pretending the pain didn't happen, by making sure it wasn't pointless. Healing becomes more than personal when it transforms into impact. Suddenly, the wound has a reason. The darkness has direction. You start aligning your experiences, even the painful ones, with something greater than just survival. You stop being stuck in the why me and start walking in the what now. And that shift, that's where the growth happens. That's where the magic is. Not in forgetting the pain, but in rebuilding yourself with it. Stronger, smarter, sharper, still soft, but never small again. Forgiveness is one of the most misunderstood words in healing. People throw it around like it's a cure, all as if saying, I forgive you, is some magical moment of peace. Let's be clear. Forgiveness is not forgetting, it's not excusing, and it's definitely not about making the other person feel better. Forgiveness is about reclaiming your energy. It's about refusing to carry their mistake on your back one more day. You don't forgive because they deserve it. You forgive because you deserve peace. The truth is, when someone hurts you, they take something. Time, trust, safety, confidence. And every time you replay that moment, every time you let the resentment simmer, they keep taking. So forgiveness is your way of saying, this ends with me. You're not doing it to mend a relationship. You're not doing it so they feel less guilty. You're doing it to loosen the grip that pain has around your neck, because holding on to anger doesn't protect you. It poisons you quietly, slowly, steadily. And let's be honest, sometimes the hardest part about forgiveness is that you'll never get the apology. You'll never get the explanation. You'll never hear the words you waited for, needed, deserved. And that's the cruel part, but that's also where your power begins. You stop waiting for them to make it right and start making yourself whole anyway. That's when forgiveness becomes strength, not softness. It's not about going back to how things were. It's about moving forward without dragging a wound that no longer serves you. Forgiving doesn't mean reconciling. It doesn't mean opening the door again. You can forgive someone in your heart and still choose to never speak to them again. That's not petty. That's boundaries. You can release the grudge without reopening the chapter. In fact, the most radical act of forgiveness is often quiet, private, unseen. It's that internal shift when their name no longer stings, when you stop needing them to feel what you felt, when you finally understand that your healing doesn't depend on their remorse. Forgiveness is not about pretending the pain didn't happen. It's about refusing to let it control you any longer. It's about standing in your story fully, bravely, and choosing peace over power struggles, freedom over bitterness. It's about saying, you may have hurt me, but you don't get to define me. You walk away not because you're weak, because you're wise enough to know that some battles aren't worth staying in, especially when the real victory is your own peace. One of the hardest lessons you'll ever learn is that closure doesn't always come in the form of a conversation. Sometimes the apology you've been waiting for never arrives. Explanation you thought would make it all make sense never comes. And the person who hurt you, they move on as if nothing happened. That's the heartbreak within the heartbreak, realizing that the people who damaged you might never acknowledge what they did. But here's the truth. Closure is not something they give you, it's something you give yourself. We grow up thinking that healing needs a neat ending. We need to sit across from the person who broke us and hear them say, I'm sorry, that somehow their remorse will unlock our peace. What if they don't have the emotional maturity to admit they were wrong? What if they genuinely don't see the damage they caused? Or worse, what if they do and they just don't care? You can't build your healing around someone else's awareness. Closure isn't a gift they give you. It's a boundary you choose to create when they no longer deserve access to your soul. It's incredibly brave to grieve the version of the relationship you wished existed, accepting the version that actually happened. That disconnect between what you hoped for and what was real. That's where your healing starts. Not in their words, in your truth. You don't need their explanation to validate your pain. Your experience is valid simply because you lived it, you felt it, you survived it. That's enough. You don't need someone who broke your heart to stitch it back together. Seeking closure from someone who shattered you is like asking the storm why it rained. Even if it answered, it really change anything. Some people are not capable of giving you the depth or honesty you crave, not because you weren't worth it, because they were never equipped for it. And that's not your burden to carry. Let go of the fantasy that they'll come back more evolved, more compassionate, more accountable. Closure is deciding that your peace is not up for negotiation anymore. There's something incredibly powerful about learning to live without the "ooh, why?" about closing the chapter yourself, even with unanswered questions. That doesn't mean you're okay with what happened. It means you're choosing not to let it define you. It means you've realized that your healing, your growth, your forward momentum, none of it is dependent on them. You're not waiting for a door to open. You're building a new one with your own hands. There's nothing more powerful than reclaiming your story, especially when someone has tried to write it for you in half-truths, assumptions, or outright lies. When someone hurts you, they often distort the story too. They downplay your pain, shift the blame, or rewrite the ending to make themselves the victim. But here's the truth. You don't owe anyone silence just to keep them comfortable. You get to own your truth, not the edited version, not the watered-down version, the whole truth. You get to say, this is what happened, this is how it felt, and this is how I rose. There's nothing weak about being wounded. The world often tells us to stay quiet about our pain, perfect, polished, unbothered. But your scars are not shameful. They are evidence of survival. Owning your narrative means telling your story with your head held high, not because it was easy, but because it was yours. Your story, in all its mess, all its heartbreak, all its resilience, is valid. You get to choose how it's told, and more importantly, who gets to hear it. Not everyone deserves access to your vulnerability, but you deserve to live in your truth freely and fully. When you don't own your story, others will. They'll twist it. They'll use it. They'll define you by your lowest moment. That's why taking control of your narrative isn't just about empowerment. It's about liberation. You're not the rumor. You're not the version of you they constructed in their guilt-ridden mind. You're not the silence you kept while trying to protect someone who didn't protect you. You are the author now, and the pen is in your hand. There's incredible strength in rewriting your story while you're still healing. You may not have all the answers. You may still be figuring out who you are beyond the pain, but that doesn't make your voice any less worthy. You can speak while still shaking. You can tell your truth while still learning how to live in it. You don't need to be fully healed to say, this is my experience, this is what I've carried, and this is what I've become because of it. Your growth doesn't erase what happened. It just shifts the power back into your hands. Owning your narrative doesn't always mean speaking loudly. Sometimes it means living fully, with integrity, with joy, with boundaries. The refusal to be defined by what someone did to you. It means walking into rooms without shame, knowing that your story didn't break you. It built you. It taught you how to be your own hero, and that more than anything is what makes you unstoppable.